What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Dave's third album, The Boy Who Played the Harp. Santan Dave back with his third album, first in 4 years. 2021 was the last full-length project from him, and it's been a long, relatively quiet time between these two projects, something he acknowledges on this album. And I managed to miss this release coming out, despite the fact that I'm both a big fan of Dave, and this album was released on my birthday, of all things. We have the same name. Nonetheless, listen to it, like the album, a lot to get into with it. And of course, since Dave released We're All Alone in This Together in 2021, a massive record, critically acclaimed, he also, of course, 2 years ago released Split Decision with Central C. And on that EP, of course, you had the lead single Sprinter, which became the longest running UK rap #1 in the history of UK music. And that song crossed over and was very successful here in the States and was the paragon, the leading indicator of Central C's mainstream, debut and standing here in the States now. Of course, we just got Centra's last album the beginning of this year. Dave was featured on that. It's a different time for UK rap in the United States. We've never seen this level of success, and Dave clearly went in the opposite direction of that and largely was quiet, apart from some guest features here and there in this interim period. But now we're here with The Boy Who Played the Harp, and Dave has made history with this album once again, becoming the first British rap artist to debut 3 albums at #1 on the UK album chart. So his commercial standing is very secure, and of course everyone knows his critical standing as well. Mercury Prize winner, Brit Album of the Year award winner, tons of critical love for his, first and second albums, as well as other things he's done. I think it's pretty credible and pretty, remarkable, frankly, how much he's accomplished. He's now only 27 years old, despite seemingly having quite the robust discography. And now we're here with Dave's third album, The Boy Who Played the Harp, which certainly continues his evolution as a songwriter. This is some of his most introspective, observational, reflective lyrics he's ever done. And what Dave is saying on this album reflects a lot of regret and sadness and simply a struggle with how he sees his standing in music, in rap, sees his fame, sees his success, sees his brand, as well as general cultural and societal thoughts he has as well. Some of his best storytelling ever is clearly present on this album. However, this is a sparsely arranged sounding album. This is pretty thin. The harp is present. There's a lot of piano. This is not Dave making bangers. There's no Sprinter here. There's no Verdansk here, Thiago Silva. Really nothing like that at all. That is not what this project is intending to be. This is a lot more of a mood piece from Dave. And if you've been a fan of his, like most of his fans, for his lyricism, for the things he says and how he sets himself apart from a lot of his UK peers, you'll still find that on this album. However, it's definitely an album you need to be in the right mood for because it's pretty somber. Track 1, History, features one of Dave's key collaborators on this project, none other than James Blake. And right away, you hear that piano that is pretty prevalent throughout this project. I like the way the beat drops at least a little bit when that kick drum shows up. There's some nice harmonizing that James Blake does with those background vocals before then coming in for his own vocals. I like the song. It sounds pretty nice. 175 Months, I mean, this to me is like classic Santan storytelling for me. Really personal, like soul-bearing type stuff. I also find the beat pretty interesting, pretty layered. And then you have this, I think, pretty noticeable drum outro to end it. No Weapons, featuring Jim Legacy. This is a great feature because Dave, of course, was featured on Jim Legacy's, project from earlier this summer. There's only a handful of guest spots on this project, James Blake and Jim Legacy being two of the most notable ones here. I love Jim's tone on this. I think it's a really great contrast with Dave's vocals, and I like the way the drums kind of flare up from time to time as well. Chapter 16, featuring Kano, is the best song on Dave's third album, The Boy Who Played the Harp. This is a bar for bar, back and forth meditation between two of the luminaries of UK rap. Of course, Kano, a grime legend, OG, 40 years old. Dave, clearly the face of his generation of UK rap. It's a really cool collab, and I love the way those bars go back and forth. And Kano's voice also is another nice contrast once again, but he's just very sharp on this song. And I did not appreciate Dave making a Max Verstappen reference with the F1 bars that he has on this song. I mean, as a Londoner, surely you got to say Lewis Hamilton or at least Lando Norris, George Russell, something. You can't be dropping a Max Verstappen bar in a rap song when you're from the UK. That's blasphemous. Nonetheless, I love the track. Rain Dance featuring Thames, I guess the most famous feature here of the ones we have, and that's all of them: Blake, Legacy, Kano, and Thames. I think this song's all right. It feels like not like flashy enough for like a great Thames track, and it's not gonna be that flashy because that's just not what this album is about. That's not the mood of this album. So as a result, it's just kind of like a meh, like nothing burger to me. Selfish featuring James Blake once again. Noticeable piano. Here we go. My 27th birthday. I think this one is a highlight as well. It's 8 minutes long, and that's a lot. There's a lot of things said on this album. Does he need to get all this out? Maybe not. Not a song I'm going to revisit all that much, but he's really going through it because he has a lot to say. It's really just a casual piano with some subtle background vocals. I do like the way he kind of switches up halfway through. Dave mentions being sober now. I don't even know if that was a struggle we necessarily even associated with him, but he talks about that on this. He talks about his record sales and what those do and don't mean to him. He talks about the wait between these albums, which I haven't even really considered as something like super long because, again, the stuff with Central C was just 2 years ago. Nonetheless, he gets a lot off his chest with this track. Marvelous is another highlight for me. Very noticeable acoustic guitar present here. I love the way that bass drops in, though. Sounds nice. That bass drop is just rare for this album, right? I think of when I saw Dave live, the most recent time he toured the U.S. I'm hoping he tours the U.S. again with this album. We don't know if he will yet. I remember when he opened the show up and he played Verdansk off We're Not Alone in This Together. When that bass drops in, and like it's a nice bass drop when you hear the studio version of the song, but when you hear that live, the place erupted when you heard that. And he's just such a confident lyricist that he can just ride something like that, right? You don't get moments like that on this album. There's just not a lot of songs like that really lend themselves to a more energetic section of a live show. So I think the mood of a lot of his shows, we're supporting this album, I think it's just going to be a little different, a little bit of a different energy. But on Marvelous, you do get a sung chorus from Dave, and he almost has more of a melodic rap flow in general. I think it's something he hasn't really done too much of. There has been singing for sure, but it was an interesting road to go down. I'd be curious if he does more of this in the future. I think Fairchild stood out just because I thought the percussion on this track was like really involved, really interesting, and very detailed. And then lastly, you have the title track, The Boy Who Played the Harp, which probably his most overtly political lyrics are on this. But yeah, it's a really like well-written, well-communicated vibe that he has on the album. There's just not a lot of songs that I necessarily are going to like run back to in a vacuum, run back to on their own merits, and he was able to kind of do both on his past works. So I think that's what the key difference is here. So I'll be curious like how this album like performs. I mean, again, like it had a really strong debut over in the UK, but I'll be really curious like how the songs on this stack up against, the hits of his discography to date, and see like what people end up going back to the most. Because it's kind of a contrast between him perhaps never being more, cohesive and clear in how he feels and what he's expressing, but also making music in the process that doesn't necessarily sound as good as some of his past stuff. So it's an interesting kind of dilemma, I guess, for the listener. Let me know, what did you think of Dave's third album, The Boy Who Played the Harp? What did you like most about this album? What was your favorite song? And for more music reviews, more rap reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.